Okay, so you know how everyone's talking about that ice van
Yeah.
that was on fire? Literally engulfed in flames.
Oh, yeah, that was all over my feed, too. Crazy.
I feel like that video was everywhere online. I mean, everyone was sharing it.
Oh, for sure.
And, everyone was, like, jumping to conclusions about what happened.
Yeah.
It was pretty dramatic footage.
It was.
But like we always say,
Uh-huh.
you can't always believe what you see online, right?
Right. Especially when it's, something like that, right? Where
Yeah.
it's really easy to jump to conclusions about what happened
Exactly.
based on like a short clip.
Yeah, and maybe your own preconceived notions about what you think happened.
Uh-huh.
So today we're taking a deep dive into what actually happened. And we're using an article from CBS Philadelphia called A Fact Check, No Foul Play Suspected in Ice Van Fire in Philadelphia. So we're going to be looking at, what the facts are in this case.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so interesting to me about these types of situations, like how quickly people go from like just a general, oh my gosh, something crazy happened, to
Right.
very specific, often like completely unsubstantiated claims about what caused it.
Exactly. So let's rewind back to February 18th.
Okay.
Tuesday morning, 8:38 a.m.
Uh-huh.
This is all according to the article that we're looking at here from CBS Philadelphia.
Okay.
It says this ice van was driving through Center City
Right.
when it suddenly caught fire right in front of a house.
Wow.
Yeah, and luckily the driver got out unharmed,
Okay, good.
and the Philadelphia Fire Department came, put out the flames, so thankfully, nobody was injured.
Right. So like in terms of official statements, right?
Yes.
So we have the Philadelphia Fire Department, and then also ICE itself released statements.
Yeah.
And Rachel Cunningham, she's a spokesperson for the fire department.
Okay.
She called it an accidental fire
Uh-huh.
with no suspicion of foul play.
Okay.
And then Tanya Roman, who is the spokesperson for ICE, she said that the van experienced mechanical issues before the fire started.
Interesting. So, it sounds like we have pretty official sources
Yeah.
saying that it was an accident.
Yeah.
But then, and here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
There was a lot of chatter
Yeah.
on social media claiming this was arson.
Oh, wow.
And not just arson, but specifically by left-wing extremists.
Hmm.
So, I mean, what do you make of that?
I mean, that's the thing. That's the part that really makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Like, why did this particular incident
Yeah.
become like such a breeding ground for all this misinformation?
Right.
I think it's a few things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, those visuals, right?
Yeah, that fire was intense.
Like that fire was intense. It was a huge fire.
Yeah.
And then also, you can't ignore like the pre-existing political climate, right,
Sure.
surrounding ICE.
Right.
People are already kind of primed to see it.
Yeah.
As a targeted attack,
That makes sense.
So I think it was, like kind of all those things coming together.
So, it's so easy to get, like, swept up in the emotions of the moment.
Sure.
Especially when you see such powerful imagery.
Yeah.
But we've talked about critical thinking before.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, I mean, it's not about becoming a fact-checking expert overnight, right? Nobody expects you to do that.
Yeah.
But it is about just taking a second to, like, ask yourself some key questions,
Okay, yeah.
So, like, let's say you're scrolling through Twitter, right?
Uh-huh.
How do you avoid falling for this kind of stuff?
Yeah, like, give it some practical tips.
Okay, well, first of all, who is sharing this information? Like, what's their agenda?
Okay.
Do they have some kind of bias,
Yeah.
Is there any, like, actual evidence to support what they're saying?
Right.
Or are they just, like, expressing an opinion?
Uh-huh.
And then, like, honestly, if something seems way too outrageous to be true, probably is.
Probably is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just, like, use your common sense.
So it sounds like what you're saying is
Yeah.
don't just take things at face value. Check your sources.
It's exactly.
Look for evidence. Maybe take a breath.
Yeah, take a breath before you retweet, before you get that retweet or share button,
Yeah.
because, even sharing something that you think is true,
Mm-hmm.
but that turns out to be false, that can have real-world consequences,
Wow.
It contributes to this whole spread of misinformation,
Yeah.
which can, really erode trust,
Yeah.
fuel division, and really even lead to real-world harm in some cases.
Absolutely. Okay, so to recap, this ice van fire in Philadelphia was definitely a dramatic event.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, according to official sources,
Mm-hmm.
it was an accident.
It seems like it.
But what's so interesting about this whole thing
Yeah.
is just how quickly misinformation can spread online,
Uh-huh, for sure.
especially when you're dealing with such a sensitive topic and such powerful imagery.
Right, exactly. And I think ultimately, this deep dive is, less about this specific event
Yeah.
and more about just like reminding everyone how important it is to be like a discerning consumer of information.
Absolutely. We all have a responsibility to think critically, check our sources, and be mindful of what we share online.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Deep dive complete.
Yeah.